Swiss Family Robinson, Chapter 29, Another Excursion. There's only 6 more chapters left, and then I'll assign the movie to watch, okay? But Chapter 29, Another Excursion. Although the danger to which we had been exposed by the appearance of the serpent was over, I could not rest satisfied until I had searched the island to learn whether any other of those creatures were to be found upon it. This resulted in 2 excursions, one to the marsh and duck pond, and other to the country about Falcon's Nest. Jack and Ernest both hesitated to accompany me, and expressed a strong desire to remain at the grotto. But I reasoned with them on the folly of becoming slaves to this imaginary terror, and overcame their fears, for I wished my boys to be brave and courageous in times of danger. I thus made them see how much safer and more at ease we should feel after exploring the region and finding no trace of these creatures. We started together, carrying, in addition to our firearms, some bamboo canes for staves and a couple of broad planks for crossing the marsh. Amongst the crushed reeds and rushes, we found many traces of the boa, but there were no signs of either young ones or eggs. Returning by the edge of the rocks after a strict search, we came upon another grotto or cave, just where they joined the marsh, and from it flowed a little stream of clear, sparkling water. Fritz and myself stepped in on a broad path beside the stream and found that the ceiling, or vaulted roof, was formed of glittering stalactites. The floor was covered with fine earth, as white as snow, and I found to my great satisfaction after examination that it was fuller's earth. This is a pleasant discovery and will be of great use in washing our clothes, I said. It is a kind of clay largely used by fullers or cloth dressers to cleanse wool, both before and after it's woven, from the grease contained in it, and for this purpose it is much better than any artificial soap. The stream grew narrower as we advanced, and I found that it issued from a fissure in the rock at the back of the cave. As the stones about this point were soft, it was easy to remove them and make an opening. Fritz produced his tinder box, and a couple of candles were quickly lighted and stuck on our bamboo canes. By this clear burning, I knew that the air was pure enough to allow us to enter. Leaving Ernest and Jack outside, we crept through the hole and found ourselves in a large, lofty hall with a vaulted roof. "Oh, Papa!" exclaimed Fritz joyfully. "Here's another salt cavern. Look at all the crystals." "They cannot be salt," I replied, "or the water in the brook would taste of it. I am rather of the opinion that this is a cave of rock crystals." "Rock crystals, Papa!" exclaimed the boy. "Then we have made a valuable discovery." "Not more valuable here," I explained, "than a bag of gold found by Robinson Crusoe to him." Our candles were now nearly burnt out, so we hastened to return to the outer grotto. After having fired a pistol to observe its effect on the crystals, on reaching the outside, Jack startled me by throwing himself into my arms, sobbing and laughing together, as he exclaimed, "Oh, Papa, I'm so glad you have come. I heard a noise like thunder and thought the cave had fallen in and crushed you both." "Oh, he's gone to It's only the report of the pistol, my dear boy. But why did not Ernest remain with you?" "Oh, he's gone to the bed of rushes and probably did not hear the noise." I went with haste to look for the boy and found him busy among the reeds, plaiting a kind of basket with rushes. "Where are the fish for the basket you are making?" I asked. "I have not been fishing," he answered, "but I've killed a young boa, I think. There he is, near my gun." This rather alarmed me, for I knew that if this was a young serpent, there would probably be more in the marsh. A single glance relieved me. "Your boa," I said, "is a fine, fat eel, which will provide us with an excellent supper. And we may as well go home now and show your mother the magnificent fish you have killed." I proposed the next day that the whole family should accompany me in an excursion to the further side of the great bay. Joyful preparations began at once and occupied us for nearly a week. The cart was stocked with provisions for an absence of some length, together with our canvas tent, cooking utensils, tools, candles, and plenty of arms and ammunition, and thus equipped we started. Traces of the boa were occasionally seen, but before we reached Falcon's Nest, they had completely disappeared. We found the livestock in good condition, and their numbers had increased. So after throwing some fodder and salt to them, we then pushed on to Wood Grange. I decided to make this our halting place for the night, and after a slight dinner, we set out to explore the vicinity. Little Frank accompanied us, armed for the first time with a small gun. I took to the left of Black Swan Lake, and Frank, Jack, and Fritz took the opposite direction, and Ernest remained to assist his mother in gathering rice from the marshy fens by the lake. We kept for the most part close to the shore and started many aquatic birds such as herons, woodcocks, and wild ducks that flew to the lake either to sport on its surface or soar above it. After a time, as we met with no adventure except that Frank shot a little animal called a cavy, which startled us by rushing from the reeds, we turned our little steps homeward to the tent, having made no discovery of importance. "And what have you been doing during my absence, Ernest?" "Oh," replied he, "while Mama and I were gathering rice, I noticed several little mounds, like molehills, rising a few inches above the ground. Presently, Master Nip ventured near, drew from a hole in one of them a large rat. I ran to help him, and after killing the rat, poked my stick in the nest. When I rushed, a large number of rats came out and escaped from the rice. I knocked over some of them with my stick, but their cries brought a whole colony upon me, and they began to attack my legs most savagely. I killed several, but they were so furious that I cried out for help. Juno then dashed in amongst my assailants, and with one grip of the neck laid many of them dead, and put the rest to flight. I was very curious to see the nest, which I found to be similar to those of a beaver. They were evidently muskrats, I said. They resemble the beaver in the cleverness with which they build their houses, and in having a bushy tail and webbed feet. Jack and Fritz had by this time returned. They had seen nothing of our dreadful foe, and like ourselves had met with no adventures. They opened their game bags and produced several wild fruits of various kinds, which we all enjoyed. It was now growing late, and the boys all looked weary. We therefore took up our night quarters in the hut or arbor at Wood Grange. After an early breakfast, we continued our journey to the sugarcane grove. I was thankful to observe no traces of the serpent's trail, and we were proceeding to explore the cane brake when what appeared to be a herd of little gray-colored pigs passed before us. The perfect order for which they followed the leader was most remarkable. With a shot from my double-barreled gun, I brought two of them to the ground. Strange to say, the procession did not pause, but actually passed the dead bodies of their comrades with steady steps, and without breaking rank. Fritz and Jack fired also, and altogether we shot about a dozen of them. On examining our booty, I recognized they were peccary, and of the flesh is considered palatable. Fritz and I at once carefully removed the musk bag from each without breaking it. By doing this, the flesh was preserved from having a very disagreeable flavor imparted to it. I sent Jack for the cart, and his arrival we placed the little pigs upon it. So there's the peccary. It's like a little teeny pig, And then we returned to the arbor. Beginning after a hasty but substantial meal, the preparation of this new supply of provisions. The legs and sides were cut off and salted, and on the day following, the boys arranged to turn our arbor into a smokehouse, like the one we used for smoking herrings, and in this, the salted joints were hung. As the smoke in the hut required attention for a few days before the hams would be cured, my wife and one of the boys decided to remain near and attend to the fire, while the rest of us made excursions in the neighborhood. On our way to Prospect Hill, one morning we passed through Wood Grange, and I found to my dismay and mortification that some wild animals had again attacked the farm buildings. The goats and sheep had wandered away, the fowls also had disappeared, and the stalls and poultry houses were broken and destroyed. It was therefore obvious that our plans for preserving and multiplying our stock by this means was a complete failure.